Well, on behalf of International Food Policy Research Institute, I wanted to welcome you all to come to this reception and this conference. Why we are going to have this conference? As we know, the Latin America and Asia have launched different development strategies and different development pathways in the last 30 or 40 years. That have resulted in different outcomes. However, there are many similarities that we can really share, that we can really learn from each other. So for example, the pro-poor, the macro and trade policies, the overall growth strategies, whether it's labor-intensive growth strategies, or whether it's high-tech, the agriculture strategies, broader-based agriculture strategy, or high-value-based growth strategies. And the social protection. So the Asian countries launched different types of social protection, universal subsidies, food subsidies. While in this region, it's a more targeted approach. And the trade and investment between these two regions have also increased tremendously in the last decade or so. So my own country, I'm glad to see the Chinese ambassador here. My own country just signed a free trade agreement between, with this country, Peru. And just for 2008, the trade between China and Peru was about $7.5 billion. And so we have seen the tremendous opportunities for these two regions to work together. So not only mutual learning in their development pathways, but also areas we can really work together. So before I go give the floor to our keynote speakers, let me tell you very briefly about IFPRI. So IFPRI is an international organization based in Washington. It was set up in 1975, right after the first food crisis. So IFPRI was set up in response to a global food crisis. So after 36 years of research, so IFPRI has grown to a very large institute. So today we have 350 staff. And not only Washington-based. So IFPRI is a global institution. So we have offices in Africa, in Asia, in China. So here I have my colleague Ashok Gulati here. So he's a director in Asia. I also have Kevin Chen here, who is our program leader for China. So our largest effort is in Africa. So we have 7 country support programs in Africa. We also have a division in Africa. So it's a purely global institution. Right now, our work has been mainly focused on production technology, environment related to food security, related to hunger reduction. The market, trade, and institutions. Maximo Torero is the director of that institution, division. The food consumption and nutrition, or health, is another area of the work. And development strategies and governance. I used to be the director for that division. So the division used an integrated approach, comprehensive approach, to integrate different pieces from production, technology, market, trade, together, so we can present a comprehensive or integrated message to policymakers, like many people who are sitting here. So they can really set their priorities to guide their investment to support very much needed pro-poor growth, poverty reduction, and hunger reduction. Well, it is clear that the global food security is currently under stress. The climate change, the rapid population growth, the demographic change, so not just the total population growth, but also the shift from rural to urban areas, the aging structure. So in Africa, you see the largest increased share of the young people who do not have jobs. In the meantime, in some of the emerging economies like China, you have seen the aging structure. So that China has entered to aging society much earlier than it should be. So the demographic shift not only increases the demand of total quantity of food, but also quality. So it's not just a quantity, it's a quality. So the people demand to eat much better. In the meantime, water and land have become more limited, and the diseases, animal, human, and plant diseases have threatening our global food system. So how do we address these issues? So to respond to these emerging issues, IFPRI's new research agenda, I took my current position about 3 months ago. So the new agenda for IFPRI would include a pro-poor, a pro-agriculture macro policies. So how we can really design certain macro policies that can really good for the poor, good for agriculture development. The second is, how do we promote smallholder productivity? We do know that the majority of the poor are in the agriculture sector, in rural areas. They engage in smallholder farming. So how do we increase their productivity? The third is reducing the price volatility of food. We learned a lesson from last food crisis. The crisis just happened about 2 years ago. The food prices has become more volatile. So one is it has moved to very high level. Second, it has become very fluctuating and very volatile over time. So how can we design certain strategy, certain policy that we can really stabilize the global food price? Obviously, climate change will add additional threat, not just additional, probably one of the biggest threat to global food system. How do we integrate the climate change in the development of agriculture strategy, rural development strategy, poverty reduction strategy? Then the global governance and the national governance related to agriculture and food security. The food crisis really taught us a lesson. That is, the global food system failed us in predicting the food crisis, in responding crisis. So we really have to move from the global level dialogue, debate, to the national level development. So at IFPRI, we really try to argue to support a country-led, country-driven development process. So here, we work with our partners in the country to support their strategy, their policy. IFPRI is not new in Latin America. So IFPRI has been in this region for some years. IFPRI's work in the region includes trade liberalization. So the analysis from our researchers has clearly indicated that who would benefit from trade liberalization, who would suffer from trade liberalization, what would be the coping strategies for the poor who would have suffered from trade liberalization, can also benefit from the trade liberalization. Some of our researchers, Anton is sitting here. For example, the study analyzed the different trade agreements, the free trade agreements between Asia and Latin America, or between China and Peru. How does that sort of trade agreement would affect the welfare, poverty reduction, hunger in Peru, in China, in Latin America, and in Asia. So this sort of information and knowledge can really be used by policymakers, by politicians in debating their policies. Then IFPRI's work on bottlenecks in development at the micro level, particularly in the Andes region, and led by Maximo Torero. So that will really identify what are the obstacles or bottlenecks at the micro level to move the poor out of poverty, whether it's institutional barriers, whether it's infrastructure barriers, whether it's a lack of non-farm opportunities. The social protection work in this region has been one of our sort of bread and butter. The IFPRI launched its study in Mexico first on evaluation of Progressa, and later on, the IFPRI has moved to other countries So the region has been the pioneer in launching some of the very targeted social protection. So how can we really learn from these targeted programs, whether it has really reached its target? So IFPRI has done a lot of studies in these areas. So obviously, the region continues to face some of the challenges: food insecurity, persistent poverty, uneven economic growth, and lagging agricultural growth. So IFPRI's role in the region is still very much needed. And we might use this opportunity to expand IFPRI's work in the region. So this is one of the reasons why we host this conference here, particularly in Peru. So finally, I wanted to thank our co-host, the University of Pacific, particularly Professor Philip Portocarrero, for co-hosting this event, this conference. And I also wanted to thank Cynthia Sabon, the Director of Research Center of the University, for providing very much needed support to this conference. And we will thank 3 keynote speakers for their sharing of their thoughts and provoking comments. So Liliana Rogas Soares, Mohammed Isakan, and Mr. Piero Genzim. So they will be the 3 keynote speakers. And Liliana, Mohammed are our board members. So IFPRI is governed by our board members. So de facto, they are my bosses. So Maximo will introduce them probably a little bit more in detail later on. We are also thankful for the support of Mercedes Arroz, the Ministry of Finance. So she couldn't make it because of the IADB meetings in Cancun, but she has sent both Carlos Casos Tragadoro, the Vice Minister of Economics and Finance, and Luis Miguel Castena, the Vice Minister of Finance, to come here to join us. So my special thanks also goes to GRAD, a co-sponsor of Session 4 of this conference. So GRAD is a well-known research institution in the region, but also in the world. The Maximo Torero, you came from there. And also my thanks to all of you, of course, all of you. Without you, our conference, our workshop would be meaningless. So thank you for traveling here by long distances from Asia, from other parts of Latin America, particularly some of our Indian colleagues here. They have been working with us for a long time. It's Dragon and Elephant, the China-India comparative studies. My Chinese colleagues here, 4 or 5 from China, and my IFPRI colleagues here for your support. Thank you very much.